Okay,
In the young stem, it is present.
I so very good evening to all of you. Today quickly we will have a recap video of chapter number 6 and then we will start with the new chapter, that is chapter number 6. So let's have a look into the video.
The growth of the roots and stems in length with the help of apical meristem is called the primary growth. Apart from primary growth, most dicotyledonous plants exhibit an increase in girth. This increase is called the secondary growth. The tissues involved in secondary growth are the two lateral meristems. A. Vascular cambium and B. Cork cambium. A. Vascular cambium. The meristematic layer that is responsible for cutting off vascular tissues, xylem and phloem, is called vascular cambium. In the young stem, it is present in patches as a single layer between the xylem and phloem. Later, it forms a complete ring. Formation of cambial ring. In dicot stems, the cells of cambium present between primary xylem and primary phloem is the interfascicular cambium. The cells of medullary cells adjoining these intrafascicular cambium become meristematic and form the interfascicular cambium. Thus, a continuous ring of cambium is formed. Activity of the cambial ring. The cambial ring becomes active and begins to cut off new cells, both towards the inner and the outer sides. The cells cut off towards pith mature into secondary xylem, and the cells cut off towards periphery mature into secondary phloem. The cambium is generally more active on the inner side than on the outer. As a result, the amount of secondary xylem produced is more than secondary phloem and soon forms a compact mass. The primary and secondary phloems get gradually crushed due to the continued formation and accumulation of secondary xylem. The primary xylem, however, remains more or less intact in or around the center. At some places, the cambium forms a narrow band of parenchyma, which passes through the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem in the radial directions. These are the secondary medullary rays. Springwood and atomwood. The activity of cambium is under the control of many physiological and environmental factors. In temperate regions, the climatic conditions are not uniform through the year. In the spring season, cambium is very active and produces a large number of xylary elements having vessels with wider cavities. The wood formed during this season is called spring wood or early wood. In winter, the cambium is less active and forms fewer xylary elements that have narrow vessels, and this wood is called atom wood or late wood. The spring wood is lighter in color and has a lower density, whereas the atom wood is darker and has higher density. The two kinds of woods that appear as alternate concentric rings constitute an annual ring. Annual rings seen in a cut stem give an estimate of the age of the tree. Heartwood and sapwood. In old trees, the greater part of secondary xylem is dark brown due to deposition of organic compounds like tannins, resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances, and essential oils in the central or innermost layers of the stem. These substances make it hard durable and resistant to the attacks of microorganisms and insects. This region comprises dead elements with highly lignified walls and is called heartwood. The heartwood does not conduct water, but it gives mechanical support to the stem. The peripheral region of the secondary xylem is lighter in color and is known as the sapwood. It is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from root to leaf.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot on their.
Sorry, Coach.
With this, we are done with the secondary growth. As you confirmed that you don't have any doubt regarding this chapter, slowly we will be moving to the next chapter, that is digestion and absorption. So give me a moment so that I can share the screen. So before we go ahead, I wish to ask you, what do you understand by the word digestion and absorption? Because in your 10th grade, you must have studied about digestion and absorption. What it is, who is going to tell me? Yes, Ayushi.
Ma'am, it is the process where food is broken down into simple particles which is easy to absorb.
Very good. So that means it is the process in which the complex food that we are eating is broken down into simple particles. So do you think it is absorption too? I asked you two questions in the form of one question. That what is digestion and absorption? So you answered the digestion part. What is absorption?
Ma'am, after converting the complex particles into simpler ones, the nutrients which are useful, which are necessary for our growth, are absorbed by the body parts or organs.
So that is known as absorption. Very good.
Absorption.
So we will start with the lecture with this concept of digestion and absorption. Now, the thing is that this chapter is very important. I wish to ask once again you people only, what is the significance of digestion and absorption in human life? Why we require digestion and absorption?
मैम जो फूड हम खाते हैं क्योंकि हम अपने बॉडी को फुलफिल कर सके न्यूट्रिएंट से, ताकि हम अपने डेली चोर्स जो है वो कर सके, एनर्जी के लिए हम खाते हैं, और अब्जॉर्प्शन नहीं होगा न्यूट्रिएंट्स का तो फिर खाने का कोई फायदा ही नहीं है.
Very good. So that means these nutrients that we are obtaining will be helpful for us to move ahead. It will be very helpful for us to so that it will be very helpful for us to make our body parts as well as obtain energy from the food, isn't it? It will be helpful for us to protect us from different diseases also. So food are having basically three roles in our body. It is making our body parts, that is body constitution food. It is providing us energy building food, and as well as it is protecting us from various disorders. So that is also another form. So here in this chapter, we will be focusing on human being, and we will be focusing on digestion and absorption procedures conducted in human being for various physiological activities. So this part of chapter is known as human physiology. So we need to know that what do we mean by the word physiology? Last time we studied plant morphology, isn't it? I told you the study of external structure is morphology. Then we studied anatomy and histology. The last chapter that we completed, that is chapter number 6, was about anatomy of plant. That means how plants look from outside to inside, how they will look. So that is about plant anatomy. If you take a cross section of these plants, how they will look, that is described by the anatomy of the plant. Same histology we say about arrangement of different tissues in plant. So what do we mean by physiology? Physiology means the processes. So it is study of the life processes. So what are life processes? You know that life processes are digestion, absorption, then circulation, respiration, excretion, locomotion, control coordination. All these are different life processes. In case of plant, photosynthesis is a life process. Respiration is a life process. They also have their own way of control and coordination. They have their maintain their water balance of the body. So all these are coming under plants and animal physiology. So in this part, we will be initiating with this chapter where we will talk about the digestive system. But I wish all of you to say a few extra things which you must have studied earlier. We generally use this word nutrient and we use the word food also. So do you think both of them are same? Is there any difference between nutrients and food? Class? Riva, you joined from today na beta? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
So if you have any doubt, do not hesitate to ask me. And you can participate in discussion also, because generally we talk a lot while we learn new things. Okay. So anyone, any difference between food and nutrients? Okay, let me tell you. Food means,
Ma'am,
yes, bolo.
ma'am, we extract nutrients from the food by converting it into simpler ones.
Yes, correct. So nutrients means things, or rather to say, to polish this more, substances provide nutrition. Okay. Whereas food means nutrient plus extra substance. So whenever we are eating food, yesterday I was discussing with grade 12 students about lifestyle disorders we are having. So many a times we are eating food in which there are things which are unnecessary. Many things are there which are not required as of now. Certain things are there which are present in the quantity which is more than the amount we are required. So if we are using a food which is not rich in nutrient or have excess nutrient, it is problematic. So what are nutrients? Nutrients will include protein, lipid, carbohydrate. Is that all? Anything you can suggest?
Vitamins.
Very good. Vitamins. Then list continues. Minerals, obviously. Okay. Apart from that, water is also there. It is not considered directly as a nutrient.
मैम
Yes, beta.
मैम फैटी एसिड आ सकता है?
That will not be coming under lipid.
यस.
So food
Okay, ma'am.
will have nutrients and other substances which are not necessary for us. Okay. So we need to understand there should be a condition of balanced diet. So what is balanced diet? The diet in which all nutrients are present in required amount. So do you think this balanced diet should be same for everyone? What do you think, class? The diet
No,
Rutu must be taking, I should take the same one.
No, ma'am.
It will depend on the gender, the age, the physical activity or lifestyle of a person, as well as the medical condition also. The diet I am consuming may not be balanced diet for a diabetic person. So there are people who are called dietitians. They decide the diet of people. They can say, okay, this is the diet you should eat and this is you should not eat. Okay. So with this, let us move ahead with the digestive system. So in case of our body, the digestion is extracellular. While discussing about animal kingdom classification, we learned about that digestion can be of two types. One is intracellular digestion, where the digestion is occurring inside the cell. For example, amoeba is a unicellular organism. So its food uptake is done inside the cell, digestion is occurring inside the cell. But in our case, our digestive system, for example, if I'm talking about stomach, that stomach is having lining like this. And these lining cells will secrete the enzymes. And whatever substance is present inside the cavity of stomach will be digested accordingly. So digestion is occurring inside the cavity created by the wall of stomach. That's why it is not inside the cell, it is inside the cavity. So that's why it is known as extracellular digestion. I wish to talk to you another very important thing that you should know. Here in this chapter, we are talking about digestion and absorption because this chapter deals with that mainly. But there is a concept of nutrition. So what are the steps of nutrition? Nutrition starts with ingestion, digestion, absorption, egestion. And finally, the assimilation. So let us know about each of these things. What are they? Can anyone tell me what is ingestion?
Ma'am, the intake of food is known as ingestion.
Very good. So it is the intake of food. Then digestion, you yourself said that the breakdown of complex food to simple. In case of absorption means the uptake of digested food. What is egestion? Anyone?
Ma'am, removal.
Removal or throwing out. So it is, removal is a better word. So removal of the undigested, or rather not say undigested, parts cannot be absorbed. So what is this assimilation? Are you hearing about it for the first time? So assimilation means accumulation of nutrient as part of cell. You know, a person ate a fish. This fish was digested to get phospholipid. This phospholipid was absorbed, but when this phospholipid becomes part of cell membrane, we can say that this part means assimilation is complete. Understood the difference between absorption and assimilation, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? Great then. So should we move ahead? Okay. So we will look into the different components of digestive system. As you can see in this diagram, most of you are aware of these parts, but I wish to say that this is our alimentary canal. So digestive system is combination of the digestive tract or alimentary canal and accessory digestive glands. So these are glands which are present as a part of tract, and from where our alimentary canal start. Alimentary canal is a long and coiled structure. So this tube-like structure is having muscular wall, and also it has a glandular epithelium. And it starts from mouth and it will end into anus part through which we pass the stool. So the organs of alimentary canal will have mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and intestine. So you must understand this part is known as mouth. Then pharynx is the area where the mouth end and the nasal cavity end are fusing together. After that, there will be food pipe, which is lying side by side with the trachea, that is windpipe. Food pipe is called esophagus. It will be coming here and end up into stomach. Stomach is a J-shaped muscular sac. Post stomach, there will be this big and coiled structure, which is intestine. Inside intestine can be further subdivided into large intestine and small intestine. So is this rough diagram of digestive system clear to all of you? Class?
Yes, ma'am.
You must have studied it earlier. Only thing is we are now going to learn something extra. So first we will start with mouth. So in mouth we have a cavity which is called vestibule or buccal cavity or oral cavity. It is bound externally by lips, cheeks, and internally it is bound by gums and teeth. Now, this is bounded by a palate above. If you can touch the roof of your mouth cavity, can you see there is one roof which is rough? This is called palate. Upper. Throat is there, where tongue is there, and jaws are there. So in mouth cavity, we have a roof, we have tongue, and we have teeth. Okay. The palate of this buccal cavity has anterior part. If you can see, it is quite hard. And the posterior part means anterior means सामने की तरफ, पीछे की तरफ. So posterior part will be comparatively soft. So hard palate will have uvula, which is just a hanging flap. Actually, this uvula is closes the internal layers during swallowing of the food bolus. Actually, जब हम खाना खाते हैं, I will draw a separate diagram to make you understand. Consider this is the nasal passage and we have a mouth part. So both our mouth cavity and nasal passage has a common area called pharynx. So there are chances, if we are eating food, there are chances that this food can by mistake go to nasal passage. Should we do that? No, because otherwise if it is going to lungs, then we will die. Because these nasal passages are actually leading to lungs also via windpipe. Okay, so it will not be possible to manage that. So in this case, this part which is also known as uvula, it will just close the nasal passage. It will just, it's a flap that will close the nasal passage so that food can directly go to pharynx and then to the food pipe, not to the windpipe. Okay, so here by the side of this is the windpipe. So they are just side by side. Now, what are other things? Actually, if you look into this part, you must be realizing that this pharynx region is having subdivided into two parts. One is close to nose is called nasopharynx, and the one which is close to mouth is called oropharynx. Okay, let's see further. We have a tongue, which is a muscular, freely movable organ. In case of human being, it is attached here. In frog, it is opposite. You know how frogs catch their like prey? Any idea, anyone? उनकी जो टंग होती है वो पीछे से फ्री रहती है, सामने से अटैच होता है. So whenever they are seeing the prey, they just throw their tongue like this. Tongue will stick with the prey and then they uptake the tongue like this. Okay, but our tongue is cannot come too much out of our mouth, and it can be freely movable structure. Okay, so tongue is having various roles. It is helping us to ingest the food. At the time of ingestion of the food, it is helping in mastication also. Mastication means it is actually controlling the movement of food in the mouth cavity, so that it can be pushed to the respective teeth and teeth can go for mastication or breaking down of the food physically. It is helping in the deglutition of the food. That means it is making sure that the food is uniformly distributed with the salivary amylase. Apart from that, each and every tongue is having small projections which are called papillae. These papillae in common word are called taste buds. So what are these taste buds? These taste buds can taste the food, and we can taste bitter, we can have taste of spicy, we can taste if it is sweet, and so many different types of food is prepared only because of this small muscular structure present in our mouth. Apart from that, we have teeth present in our buccal cavity. Teeth is actually the part which is responsible for cutting and crushing and holding food. We are known as thecodont. Why thecodont? Because our teeth is deeply embedded into the socket of jawbone. That's why we are known as thecodont. हमारा जो दांत है वो जॉ बोन के अंदर अच्छे से गड़ा हुआ है. That's why you require a specialized doctor called dentist to remove the teeth. Okay. Apart from that, all of us are having teeth two times. You know, milk teeth. बच्चे जब 5-6 साल के 7 साल की उम्र के होते हैं, उनकी जो teeth with which they born, that goes, and the new teeth will come, and then with old age again we will lose the teeth. So in this case, it is observed that we are having teeth 2 times. That's why we are called diphodont. Okay, diphodont. Now, what are the different types of teeth? Actually, this milk teeth or deciduous teeth is quite temporary and weaker. So it will start appearing between 6 to 24 months, and up to 6 years of age, it will go. This is 20 in number, 10 in upper jaw, 10 in lower jaw. And the permanent teeth we have 32 in number, but let me tell you, ये 32 के 32 साथ में नहीं आते हैं. बाद में पता है आप बोलते हो अक्कल वाला दार आया है. So in some people, it takes time to get this 32 number of teeth. Okay. Now we will look into the types of teeth: incisor, canine, and molar. Here, in case of permanent teeth, incisor, canine, premolar, and polar. So in this deciduous teeth, we don't have premolar. Okay. So this is called dental formula. अब ये हमें समझना पड़ेगा. सामने की तरफ जो टीथ रहती है, I want each of you to touch your teeth and feel so that you can understand. Clean your hand obviously before touching your teeth. The teeth which is present in front are sharp like knife. So that's why they are responsible for cutting the food, and they are called as incisor. Okay. Next, this one, in some people it is very prominent, which is a pointed tooth. This one is called canine. It is responsible for creation of a hole in the food, and from that hole we can tear up the food. Then there will be premolars. Premolars are tooth which are present just by the side of canine, and finally at this part we have the molar tooth. So you need to understand that this dental formula is representing half of the upper jaw or lower jaw. That means if we have so we have such kind of 16 teeth in tooth, rather to say, in the upper jaw. So out of these 16, I am going to represent only these 8 in the dental form. So what is the formula? In the upper part, it's 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 2, 3 matlab, if I am writing 2, 1, 2, 3, that means half of this part, this first 2 will be incisor. Then this one will be canine. These 2 will be premolar, and last 3 will be molar. Premolar and molar teeth are responsible for grinding of the food. इसीलिए देखना जब भी हम टफ कुछ खाते हैं हम सामने से नहीं चबाते, हम पीछे चले जाते हैं, because we have, because those foods, the tooth are having broader area to grind the food. Okay, so you need to remember the dental formula of each case. You need to understand that in case of normal human being, it is 2, 1, 2, 3. The temporary tooth, as it is described here in the difference, doesn't have premolar. So it is 2, 1, 0, 2. Only premolar is not there and 1 molar is less. At the age of 20, it is 2122, and in adult, it is 2123. Okay, so when I'm talking about teeth, we should know homodont and heterodont. So what do you think? We are homodont or heterodont, beta?
Heterodont.
Because we have many types of teeth. All our teeth are not same. But there are some animals like eutherian animals or metatherian animals. They have homodont. All teeth are same. But we have 4 types of teeth. Now, teeth is made up of what? It is not at all living part. It has a root which is connected with the blood vessel, and it is non-regenerable. Once your teeth is gone, it is gone. You will not have new teeth other than the deciduous teeth. Obviously, it comes out. But ऐसा नहीं है कि अब इस उम्र में मेरा एक दांत गिर जाए तो वहां से दूसरा दांत निकलेगा. That I told you that enamel is the substance which is hardest in our body. It has fluorine, and when we eat food and not brushing properly, that is harmful, because the acids present in the food particles are utilized by bacteria and other microbes, and they produce acid, which is very bad for the teeth material, which is made up of calcium carbonate and phosphate, as well as it is bad for the health of enamel. So next part that we are going to see is pharynx. Pharynx is a small cavity which is actually connecting the mouth passage as well as nasal passage. Pharynx end up into 2 pipes. One is food pipe. So if you see, this is pharynx. It is having 2 pipes coming out of it. Okay, one is food pipe and another one is wind pipe. Have you noticed one thing? कभी-कभी हम बहुत ज्यादा बातें कर रहे हैं या ध्यान से नहीं खा रहे हैं, तो हमें खाना अचानक गले में अटक जाता है, भी कफ, फिर पानी वानी पिला के शांत किया जाता है हमें. Have you noticed that thing? Have you ever experienced such thing?
Yes, ma'am.
तो क्या ऐसा होता है? See, I told you that by no means food should enter into the windpipe, because windpipe will take it to the lungs, which is not professionally able to handle food. Food will be act as a blockage into the lungs, and we will choke and we will die. Okay, and this death will be a very quick death, because our body cannot afford to have deficiency of oxygen, and it cannot be reaching carbon dioxide. So obviously what happens is, it is a reflex action of body. If by any means some amount of food is moving into windpipe, so immediately that food is thrown out by cough. But one question might come into your mind कि फिर तो ऐसा होना चाहिए कि हमेशा फूड बाहर आते ही रहना चाहिए, हमेशा हमें खांसते रहना चाहिए, because how is it possible that 2 pipes are lying side by side, and only in case of a few times we are having such kind of cough to throw the food outside. Here the role is played by a part or a flap which is called epiglottis. So what is role of this epiglottis? Epiglottis is a flap which is covering the windpipe whenever we are taking the food. So food can directly go to the food pipe, not to the windpipe. Okay, so when I am chewing, it will not do it. But when I am swallowing, immediately at that time, there is a coordination by which the cartilaginous flap called epiglottis is stopping it to the entry to the windpipe. Okay, so only at the time of swallowing. That is why while eating food, especially when you are swallowing food, you should not talk much. Huh? People died. If it is a wrong process, people generally can die. Next thing is you must have noticed many a time while vomiting या कुछ ऐसा नाक के अंदर जलने लगता है. We have the sensation of having food in the nose. Why? Because I told you that this pharynx is common passage between the nasal. So we have two nostrils or nares which are opening of nose. These are external nares, and if you look into the structure of nose, this is external nares which are acting as a nasal passage, and then are two pores inside the mouth palate, and these pores are also opening in the pharynx region. So that's why ear, nose and throat is dealt with by a single doctor, and they are called ENT specialists. Because in our ear also there is one small tube called eustachian tube, which is releasing the extra air pressure into the pharynx. So these ENT specialists are also known as otorhinolaryngologist. इसलिए कोई ज्यादा उनको ENT बोलते ही नहीं है. They are called as otorhinolaryngologist. कोई बोलते नहीं है. That's why they are generally called as ENT specialists. But it's very easy to understand. Auto means audio, rhino nose. We all know because we know about rhinoceros, which has horn. Larynx related to food. So by the side of this pharynx, there is larynx, which is the voice box of us. Let's move ahead. After this pharynx, the next part that is there is called esophagus. Commonly, esophagus is also called as a food pipe. Okay. So what is the specialty of this food pipe? Esophagus is a thin tube. It's not very wide. It is approximately 25 centimeter diameter containing tube, which is starting from pharynx, and it is extending from the posterior part of our body, that is this part of our body, through neck and thorax region, that means chest region. It will cross the diaphragm. What is diaphragm? Let me tell you. In our body, if you see, I must show this to you because these are terminologies we are going to use. I am drawing a very bad human body, but the idea is not to draw good. Idea is to make you understand in a good way. That's why. So this part is head. We call this as neck. This is the part which is called thorax. This part is called abdomen. And this is hand and leg. Togetherly they are called appendages. Now, how will you decide कि अच्छा यहाँ से यहाँ तक thorax है और यहाँ से यहाँ तक abdomen है? There is a muscular membrane called diaphragm. Spelling is a bit different. So this diaphragm is actually dividing this part of our body into thorax and abdomen. So esophagus will pass through from neck to thorax, then cross diaphragm, and finally it will lead to a J-shaped bag-like structure which is called stomach. So There are sphincter. So what are these? Gastroesophageal sphincter regulate the opening of esophagus in the stomach. That means at the junction where stomach and esophagus is opening into stomach, you have such circular muscle called sphincter muscle. Sphincter muscles are present many places of our body. They are even present in the urinary tube, that is called urethra. So they contract to decrease the diameter of structure, and when they contract completely, the pipe is totally blocked. So that's why when a person vomits, it will be requiring a jerk. आप देखना जब भी हम उल्टी करते हैं, स्लोली एंड स्टेडीली उल्टी नहीं होता है, वो एक जग के साथ बहुत सारा मटेरियल बाहर आता है, बिकॉज with the pressure and uncomfort developed in the stomach will goggle up and it will start pushing the sphincter, and after some time the sphincter will open suddenly and lot of material will come out, then again it will close. Now the question is why it is required, why we require to have sphincter? Because at the end of stomach, where stomach is meeting with the small intestine, so this is the food pipe, this is the intestine, this is the stomach. So in both the cases they require a circular muscle called sphincter muscle. Why do you think it is required? Class?
It will help to
Prevent what?
prevent the mixing of food or the material in intestine and in stomach.
So it will prevent the backflow of food. Food is when it is inside the stomach, there should be a proper channel. The stomach food which is already digested should not get back to the food pipe. Similarly, the completely digested food should not go to food pipe, it should go to intestine. The other digested food of intestine should not get back to the stomach, so that there can be a proper flow of food and there should not be wastage of time in digestion. To look into that, stomach is having sphincter muscle at both at the beginning and the end. Now, next part is stomach. It is the part which is widest organ of alimentary canal. Widest because it is having maximum diameter. So if you look into the stomach in empty condition, it will have folds which are called gastric rugae. But as it is having a balloon-like structure, then it is full of food, then its skin will be, I should not say skin, the covering will be tight and the wrinkles, that is gastric rugae, will be gone. So if stomach loss gastric rugae, this way we can understand that there is problem and a person is suffering from stomach cancer. So where is the location of stomach? It is present at the upper left part of abdominal cavity. So always remember, books and yours left and right are different. Huh? They will be always talking about in two terms. When diagrams are drawn, they will be mentioning left, which is right to you. And when they are writing in description, it will be your left. So कभी confused मत होना. आपने कभी देखा होगा, चलो I'll give you an example. Have you ever noticed the diagram of heart? ये इसको क्या बोलते हैं, right ना? And this is the left side of the heart. Do you agree with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
But ये आपकी left hand है या right hand है?
left,
right,
ये तो लेफ्ट ही है ना बेटा, ये राइट है। अब देखो, आप मुझे देख रहे हो तो आपको उल्टा लग रहा है। So when there is description, you need to understand कि डायग्राम में उल्टा होता है, otherwise you will get very much confused. So each stomach is having three parts: cardiac portion, which is the upper part of the stomach. It is the area where esophagus opens. It's called cardiac portion because it is quite close to heart. Then there will be fundic region and pyloric region. So this upper part is called cardiac part, then the whole part is fundus, and this is the pyloric region. So cardiac part, as I said, that it is the broad upper part which has cardiac sphincter, which prevents the regurgitation of food. We discussed already. Fundus is filled with air and gases, and pyloric part is having also pyloric sphincter. So we will discuss this in detail. At the wall of stomach, there are glands and there are cells which are responsible for secretion of digestive enzyme, HCl, as well as mucus. Let's look into intestine. So intestine can be divided into small intestine and large intestine. So small intestine is called small because it's long in size, but its diameter is smaller than the large intestine. So it has this U-shaped part which is coming out of like stomach. It's called duodenum. Then a very highly coiled long part called jejunum and highly coiled ileum. So the opening of stomach and small intestine is guarded by this pyloric sphincter. Duodenum has a ampulla of Vater. This ampulla of Vater is the part, if you consider this is the stomach and this is the duodenum part. This ampulla means wide part, which is receiving the secretion of pancreatic gland as well as the secretion of bile gland. Okay, so this is the bile gland, or we should not call it gland. Actually, it is known as gallbladder. It doesn't itself secrete anything. Whatever secretion of liver is stored here, and then this gallbladder is having common duct with pancreas, and their secretions are opening up in the duodenum. Okay, so this opening is again guarded by a sphincter which is called sphincter of Oddi. So this sphincter of Oddi will decide that how much of the bile juice and pancreatic juice should enter into the duodenum. Ileum is generally thinner than jejunum and it is less vascular. It is very long part, and it is the major site for digestion and absorption. Can you tell me why small intestine has to be so long? क्यों इसका इतना लंबा होना जरूरी है?
ma'am, because as the processes are very complex, so it requires a time. Then as the length is long, so it will give a proper time for digestion.
As well as absorption, don't you think? For absorption of like also it will be requiring that much time, na beta? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know you need to know about the length of small intestine. What is the length? Can anyone give me answer? It is approximately 7 meters in long. You can understand how coiled it is that it fits into the stomach. And this is attached to the back wall of our body by using mesenteries. Mesenteries are connective tissues through which this small intestine is attached to the back wall of our body. Okay. So these are different glands present in small intestine. For example, Brunner's gland. They are found in duodenum only. They are responsible for secretion of mucus. Why we require mucus also? Class, what is mucus? Can you tell me?
The small intestine.
Yes. It is making food slippery and easy to move ahead. Okay. So other than that, Pear's patches are there, and they are there for lymphatic function. That means they will be helpful in immune response. They have full of phagocytes, which any harmful substances, that is microbes, if they are coming through food, they will try to eat them up so that they don't cause us any disease. And next is crypt of Liverpool. It is intestinal gland, and they what I can say, they are intestinal gland only. They secrete the succus entericus. So what is a succus entericus? Succus entericus is the mixture of the digestive juice, which will include protein digestive enzyme, lipid digestive enzyme, as well as carbohydrate digestive enzyme. That is totally altogether in combination is called succus entericus. Okay. Last part of digestive system is large intestine, subdivided into cecum, colon, and rectum. Cecum is the after small intestine. If you see, I know you know the diagram all together, but I am showing you one by one. This is like large intestine. Okay. So it's a blind sac-like structure which is opening into a pore called anus. Okay. There is a finger-like projection which is called vermiform appendix present. It is a vestigial organ. So what is this vestigial organ? Once upon a time it was there. Now it is of no use. So it is reminding us about an extra part of intestine, which is called rumen, which is present in these cow, buffaloes. What they do, they take food quickly and store it in the rumen, which has cellulose digesting bacteria, and then they can regurgitate the food and chew and once again eat. So we don't have rumen, but appendix is thought to be the remaining part of rumen. That's why it is called vestigial organ. Many a times what happened is food particles go into appendix and it doesn't have any role. So food particles rot there and it causes infection in the appendix. The disease is called appendicitis, again itis, which means inflammation, and then you need to remove it by operative means. So colon can be divided into three parts: ascending, transverse, and descending colon. So if you look into the structure of large intestine, it has ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. So ascending is the one which is moving up. This is the transverse part, and this is the descending colon of large intestine. Okay. At the end of this, as I said, there will be anus, just by the side of anus, they have a strong sphincter muscle which is called rectum, which control the flow of stool passage, and anal canal connects the rectum with the anus. So the main function of large intestine is to absorption of water and elimination of solid waste. So if there is any excess water removed, it is absorbed by the reabsorbed, and some minerals also reabsorbed by the large intestine. Okay. Now, next lecture we will talk about the internal layers, that if this is the external structure of each and every part of our alimentary canal. In next lecture, we will see that what are the histology of intestinal structure, or to the other parts also, the alimentary canal, that how tissues and cells are arranged with each other. So with this, we are concluding our my lecture. Bye to all of you, beta.